This is the Forex Q&A podcast. This is VP, professional Forex prop trader here in the United States, answering your user-submitted Forex trading-related questions every Monday morning. Now, if you have a Forex trading-related question that is on your mind and you have consumed every last drop of the material and you're not lying about it, and you still have a question left over, go to nononsenseforex.com/askvp, fill out the form, and I will get back to you typically within 48 hours. And you will notice our wonderful co-host, Howling Wind, is here again. He will be chiming in whenever he damn well pleases. But we are moving into early summertime weather soon here, so maybe he will finally go away and come back another day. So for those of you who are listening to this podcast later than when it is actually aired, so maybe like months down the road, you can probably skip the next 3, 4, 5 minutes here, because I'm going to talk about my email list and all of the snafus that we had this week. So here we go. If you are not connected with me on Twitter, and you should be, I put my Twitter address at the bottom of every podcast I do, then you were probably a little confused this week, because on last week's podcast, I said that I was sending an indicator out to everybody on my email list. I also said a couple times how this email list has given me nothing but problems. And but I did not see this problem coming. So let me back up a little bit here. My email list was created for one reason, and that was really for anybody that had the initiative to spend 15 seconds to put themselves on it. I was going to reward them by giving them indicators that I wasn't going to talk about on the channel. It would just be exclusive to them. And this thing went wild. I have over 10,000 people on this list right now. And it's also an issue for some people, too, because even though I have mentioned this a number of times, most people don't listen or they just don't hear the message. But I'll get a lot of people freaking out because they haven't got anything from me in a while. That's because I just don't send things out very often. Also, you used to be able to just ask me a question and you were automatically on the list. Many podcasts in the past would reference this. But my old email service provider was not doing a good job of getting people on my list at all. So I had to switch. And I switched to Aweber, which I'm very, very happy with. But there has recently become a problem here. And it's not with Aweber. But this week, I put together the indicator video for the people on my list, and I was getting ready to send it out. Now, I always send a test email to myself first, just to make sure it looks good, the links work, the video works, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't receive it. And I was like, uh-oh, this is not good. So I called support, and they looked into it, and they said, oh, the reason why you're not getting it is because Gmail has blacklisted you. I said, oh, well, that's interesting, because I correspond with people on AskVP all the time who have Gmail addresses, and it's not a problem. They're like, no, you can't send a blast email out with us. So I'm personally not blacklisted from sending things out to Gmail, but the combination of me going through them is. And then they immediately sent me to this tool that costs $99 a month to locate and fix the problem and make sure it never comes back. Now, I'm already paying a lot of money for a list that I'm not making any money from. So I'm certainly not going to go that route. But I did call my web guy. We're going to meet and try to fix it ourselves, and we'll see what we can do there. But here's the really important part, how it affects you guys. One of two things is going to happen. Either this week we're going to get it fixed, and I'm just going to go ahead and send it out like normal, or the indicator I was going to send you is going to become Thursday's video. I didn't expect for it to be that way, but it's the only way I can really get it to you at this point. And it's not going to be all exclusive or anything like that to people on my list, but with over 10,000 people on the list, how exclusive is it even nowadays? So fear not, it's a trend indicator. The market's not even trending. You're going to have it the rest of your life. Be patient, for Christ's sakes. But that is what's going on there. I'm kind of wondering about the future of the email list in general. Like I said, it's nothing but a big money suck. One of the really good advantages, I think, is that if everything just completely goes south, like my channel goes down or my site crashes, it's a good way for all of us to still be able to communicate and me let you know what's going on. But Twitter is also really good for that as well. So like I said, guys, make sure you're on my Twitter feed if you're not already. You will always know what's going on. But hopefully we can all get things back to normal soon. And if we can't, screw it. I'll just make the indicator the video for Thursday, and we will proceed with everything else as scheduled. It's a win-win, folks. And when you're an eternal optimist like myself, everything is a win-win. It is the Forex Q&A podcast, and this week's question is a question I've been getting a lot lately. It's funny how this whole thing works. When you cover a lot of questions that people have, there are less and less questions out there that remain. But those questions all of a sudden start getting asked very often, and this has become one of those questions. Now, we have gotten deep into the algorithm to where you guys are adding pieces and putting things together, and this is where this question has really arisen. And I think I have a tip for you guys that is really going to help everybody going forward. And so I'm just going to go ahead and read you the entire question. It's pretty well written here. But episode 39's question is from Will from Boston, Massachusetts. And Will asks, pulling it up because I'm reading the whole thing. Here we go. In these stagnant markets with weeks of little to no movement, I'm wondering if it's okay to wait for all of my indicators to agree. Often my entry indicator will give the green light to trade, but my volume and or confirmation indicators stop me. If those indicators then come into agreement a day or two later, is it then okay for me to take that trade, or should they all agree at the same time? Okay, so in other words, your confirmation indicator, your main confirmation indicator, the anchor of your entire system says go, but your other indicators don't just yet, but tomorrow they might, or a couple days down the road they might. Is it okay to still wait and see if they do this, and if they do, then make the trade? Or is it a hard rule that every single one of these indicators has to say go at the same time? So this is a really good question. It shows that you guys are really testing this stuff out, and these are the type of questions that come up when you guys really start putting in the work and testing the right way. So here's my answer, and listen closely. I have something called a one candle rule. So remember, everything bases off of my main confirmation indicator. I don't care what any of my other indicators are saying. It means nothing until I get a signal from my main confirmation indicator first. Then and only then do I look at my other ones. So when that happens, and I have my main confirmation indicator telling me to go long, for example, but my secondary confirmation indicator just isn't telling me that yet, but it's so close. Or everything is saying go, but my volume indicator just hasn't said there's enough volume to make the trade yet, but I have a feeling tomorrow it is. I will give those indicators one candle. So for me, one day to catch up. And if they do, and they say to trade, I will still go ahead and take that trade on one condition. And remember this, traders. We talked about FOMO trades a while back on the podcast. What a FOMO trade is a trade to where, let's say if you want to go long, and you didn't get to trade when you wanted to, but now price has already gone like 20, 30 pips long, but you still want to get in that trade, don't do it. The math is against you now. The math was in your favor when you first wanted to go in. Now at this point, it's not, and it's not worth entering. You want to get in at the best position possible, and now it no longer is. So you just have to bite the bullet and ignore it and move on to something else. If one day later, price is exactly where it was yesterday, or I've actually gotten a bit of a pullback, then I'll go ahead and enter using the one candle rule if every one of my indicators is telling me to go long now. But all of those things must be true in order for this to happen. So does that make sense, everybody? There's not going to be a blog for this episode with visuals, so I want to make sure you guys understand this. If I am trading pound dollar and my main indicator says, yes, VP, pound dollar long would be a really good trade right now. But my volume indicator is saying, yo, not yet. The volume's not there. So I'm not going to make the trade. But if by this time tomorrow, on the very next candle, my volume indicator says, hey, now you have the volume, trade if you want to, and all of my other indicators say go as well, I can go ahead and enter that trade on one condition, that trade hasn't already gone long a bit. If price hasn't really gone anywhere, or if price actually went short a little bit, that's okay. I'll go ahead and enter. But if price has even gone like 5-10 pips long, I'm so much better just exercising patience and passing on that trade. The whole point of me putting this algorithm together, especially for trade entries, is to make sure that I am getting the absolute best of it every time. And if I am not getting the best of it, I am not interested in making the trade. If that trade went on to make me 500 pips that I passed on, so be it. The discipline and patience that I showed is going to serve me much better long term, and the long game is the game that I play. Now, this is a hard sell for all these traders that are so jacked up and excited, when it comes to Forex trading, because they haven't been doing it for very long and they found this new way to trade and it's working and it's awesome, blah, blah, blah. You want to take every trade you possibly can, no matter what the circumstances are. I get that. But if you're asking somebody who's put 10 years in the game, what they would do, this would be my response. As is always the case, this is just advice. You do whatever you like. But when it comes to my answer for this question, it's a very hard, definitive answer. One candle, and even after that one candle catches up, if prices run away from me even a little bit, I pass. If my volume indicator or my secondary confirmation indicator catches up 2 candles later, nope, too late. You had your chance. We got to set rules here. If we're even a little bit laxed on the rules, everything falls apart. And if you don't set hard rules for these things, it makes it really, really hard to backtest, because you're going to find these situations where they're going to be like, well, I know right here not all of my indicators lined up, but I would have probably still taken that trade, even though my volume indicator didn't come into play until 3 days later. You're going to end up having that type of inner monologue in your head, and it's going to make for really inaccurate results. Guys, when you're backtesting, please don't lie to yourself. You have to have hard rules, and you have to follow them to the letter. And this one candle rule, even though it's me being a little bit lenient with my system, is still a hard rule, and I follow it religiously. So that is my answer to the question for episode 39. On behalf of Howling Wind and myself, thank you for tuning in. Go rate and review this podcast on iTunes if you have a moment. I would like to thank the majority of you for your patience and not fritzing out like a shivering chihuahua blowing up my email inbox and my YouTube comments wondering where the indicator is. Thank you for being patient and understanding. And stay tuned for the email I am sending you or the trading video on Thursday, whichever one happens first. The markets might be dead, traders, but we keep cranking right along. Setbacks do not mean shit to us. Setbacks are part of trading, they are part of life, and we power right on through. Keep right on testing and keep right on putting in the work just like you always have, all right? Go get it.